Oh, have you been waiting like a whole year to see the end of this bathroom project? Thanks for sticking around. Well, without further ado, let's go back in time a bit and get this thing finished. Yeah, sorry. If you'll remember, I put in new drywall down here in this section around the toilet and where the toilet's going to be again. And I did my best to blend that in, but you can already see it on camera here. I just didn't do a great job, and I thought that, you know, after sanding it and doing my best to try and prep everything, I really thought that the paint would kind of help even things out and level things. But when it comes right down to it, the paint doesn't really do anything at all. And I've quickly discovered that if you have a bad mud job with your drywall, it's just going to reflect in your paint and maybe even be more accentuated. And part of what makes it worse or highlights it is the recessed lighting that's up here. Because you've got all this downward light that's showing and being projected onto this. And so you can see this ridge here. You know, I can live with that. It's not the end of the world. But I'm doing this bathroom and I want it to be done. I want it to be done right. I don't want to have to revisit this. I don't want to look back on this project in, you know, a couple years and say, man, if I just spent a little more time, just taking an extra day to do something, I would have been happier with the result. So I decided to call in some extra help. There's a friend of mine that I didn't even think about him at the time, but he does drywall for a living, and I don't know why he didn't come to mind, but I had him just come over real quick, was here, 15 minutes, took a look at everything, and said, oh yeah, well, your joint's not that bad there, it just needed feathered out further. And he told me, that the joint compound that I was using, which was the green lidded general purpose stuff, he said, that stuff has a lot of glue in it, it's very difficult to feather. He said, get yourself some ultralight or lightweight mud and do that. And he's got a very long, I think he said a 24-inch drywall knife that he can go over this and really feather that out. And so I'm proud of some of the work that I did, for sure. Overall my corners aren't terrible. They're not perfect. This one I think is a little better than the other one. And my corner bead, I think my corner bead came out really nice here on the halfway mark. I was able to line that up and blend that in really nicely. So I'm very proud of this. But he's going to go ahead and just feather that out for me. So yeah, it's been a little while since the start of this project, and again, I apologize for it taking so long. There were a lot of different things, little factors that weighed into that, and a lot of things changed. In fact, you know, obviously I look a little different than I did at the start of this project for sure. But in any case, there were a lot of things nearing the end of the project that I did off camera that just either weren't worth documenting or it would have been really repetitive, you know, painting things. So like the replacement of the old window trim, I put new trim up, painting the cabinets on the side opposite of the new vanity, painting the door trim that was there, that was existing, attaching the drawer fronts, putting up the vanity light, things like that, that I just kind of skipped over, which, you know, would have been good to have in there, but a lot of things just kind of happened at different times. And once we were able to use the bathroom, you know, to any decent extent, then things kind of crept along after that. And then another reason why it took so long to actually release this video, well, there are a couple of reasons. One of which is laziness on my part and being interested in different things and sort of having my pathway diverted here mentally a little bit, you know, where I'm like chasing another rabbit trail. So there's a little bit of that. But I think the biggest reason, which I hadn't really maybe fully come to grips with entirely myself until just this past week or so, was sort of this idea of imposter syndrome, where it's like, you know, who are you and why do you think you have any right to say anything on camera on YouTube about woodworking or renovation, because you have no idea what you're doing, you know? And so that was definitely a factor. And part of what led into that, or made me feel that way, was sort of the lingering unfinished aspect of the project. So shortly after I actually finished the vanity and had everything installed, had the bathroom pretty much in fully operational and working order, all of a sudden we started smelling this awful smell every time we took a shower, and it filled the entire house, emanating from the basement, filled the whole house. It was disgusting. And that led me down a whole rabbit trail of assuming that I had either done something wrong, which in hindsight I did not, or, you know, looking at there's an issue with the sewer line, and it's got to be the sewer line, and having plumbers come out and having somebody eventually replace the whole drain, you know, sewer line to our septic tank. It was cast iron. There was actually a hole in it that I found that was huge. I had covered it up. I tried to patch it. Was still getting the smell. Thought that would solve the issue if I repaired that. That didn't repair it fully. Had them again replace the whole line. It was a whole fiasco. And after all of that, we still had this horrible smell. And it was just like grating on me every day. And so we ended up finding that it's the water heater, and we should have known that, or should have, I guess, thought to look at that, live and learn. How do you know these things? But yeah, so it was the water heater. I replaced the anode rod, and we finally had a scent-free house for a little while. It's actually started coming back. So that's still something that we're contending with, that we're probably going to have to get, maybe a water treatment person to take a look at our water, get it tested, and maybe get a whole new water heater or something. I'm not sure, because the smell is there, and it's only with the hot water, it seems like now. So we got to figure that out. And then, there were other little things too, like the one recessed light that I put in the ceiling just randomly stopped working for no reason. And it was just like, on top of all this other garbage with this awful smell that I'm trying to track down, now my lights that I installed, aren't working. Like, did I just screw everything up or what? And it turned out that it seems to be just a defective light. My wiring was fine. It's basically push to connect fittings, so how hard can it be? But little things like that kind of got me down, and even, I think exacerbated those feelings of like inadequacy or ineptitude, or just, again, the imposter syndrome. Like, who do you think you are? You can't go on camera and act like you've finished this nice looking project when functionally speaking you're having all these issues. And so I think that was a big part of why it took me so long. I really appreciate your patience. Thanks a lot for watching, and I've really appreciated the feedback that I've gotten from people who know me that said, hey, I've been watching your videos, I'm really enjoying. And thank you to the individual who called me and got on my case about releasing this final segment here. Because sometimes we all just need a little nudge, and honestly, just to know that anybody is watching, and that they actually care enough about it to want to see the end. So thank you for that. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.